everybody? It's your boy Todd Smith here once again, alongside my tag team partner Dale Clifford out there in Fernley, Nevada. Welcome to yet another episode of the No Gimmicks podcast on the 3 and Out Radio Network. Dale, what's good, my man?
What up, Todd? Good to see you again. Definitely, we've got another interview that we're bringing to you this time. Another one that's going to be a little bit different than a wrestler. We're going to turn to a guy that uses the microphone basically every show that he's got. So we'll get a little bit of insight of what it is like being a ring announcer for a professional wrestling company, and one that kind of deals with women of professional wrestling as well.
Yes, sir. So joining us this evening on the No Gimmicks podcast is the voice of women of wrestling. Give it up for Mr. Stephen Dickey. Stephen, what's good, my man?
Todd, Dale, thank you guys for having me tonight. This is I'm a big fan of the show. I've listened to a lot of your guys' interviews in the past and your post-show reviews. Love No Gimmicks, so it's an honor to be here. Thank you, guys.
Hey, man, we appreciate all your support, Stephen. We really, truly do. So now, you started your professional wrestling career at the age of 23, or starting the pro wrestling business at the age of 23. However,
Yes,
you did not actually begin your career as an announcer. So please share with us and our viewers what your first role was with the company Women of Wrestling.
In 2012, I started talking to WOW in spring of 2012 and signed my first contract in December of 2012. So it was about 8 or 9 months there of talks, negotiations, if you will, between WOW and I. About joining the fold, but I originally joined the fold with WOW as a writer and a member of the creative team. I was a student. I was a writing student, studied creative writing in college, and I was actually in school at the time when I got the gig with WOW. So it was completely happenstance. It was total luck that I ended up in the position I did. Most people at 23. You gotta, you start, you disassembling the ring, putting the ring together, things like that. You're wiping sweat off guys' foreheads. It's that's what you're doing before at 23 before you work your way up to being creative team and announcer and things like that. But no, it was complete. It was just like I said, complete happenstance. But again, in the spring of 2012, I happened to be on David McLean, who's the founder of WOW. And also the founder of Glow from the 80s, by the way, for people who are familiar with his work in Glow. But I was on David McLean's personal website, saw an email section where you could reach out to him. And, I reached out just as a fan. I said, David, who is from Indianapolis, I said, David, I'm from Indianapolis. He by that time he had been somewhat inactive in wrestling for a few years. And I was curious. I said, what's in the pipeline? What's the next wrestling show that you're going to be a part of? Because he's got such a long, rich history in wrestling. I knew a guy like that wasn't just going to completely, fade away into that gentle good night. So again, I reached out as a fan. I said, and I informed him, I'm a writing student, so I didn't want just the corporate political answer. I was hoping for a real answer, from somebody. And again, that's where I left it. I just said I was curious what he had going on in wrestling. And I got a response the next morning that said, please forward your writing background to Mr. McLean. He's interested in reviewing it. And I was absolutely floored at that point. I couldn't believe that, David McLean, who I'd watched on TV for so many years, was interested in my writing background, which at that point consisted of zilch and zero. So it was funny. We had talked, we had discussed things for a couple months, and then finally, we spoke on the phone, and he just laid it out to me. He said, I've got a lot of people who want to be a member of the creative team. I got a lot of people who want to be a writer. Why do I pick you? And I was just as straightforward as he was in my response. I said, look, I've never been in the wrestling business, so. I've been a fan. I've been a student since I was 10 years old. So I've studied everything. I've studied bookers. I've studied other writers. I've listened to interviews, read books, read Dusty Rhodes' books, read The Rise and Fall of ECW. I've looked at booking patterns. I've looked at what's worked and what hasn't worked. But at the same time, I'm not somebody who's a ex-WWE writer, an ex-TNA writer who's going to come in with all these misconceptions about what, what I think the wrestling business should be. So I said, I'm going to bring you new, fresh perspective and new, fresh ideas. And I think that's where my strengths lie. And we from there we talked about home, Indianapolis, and just growing up in Indiana and just similar backgrounds and upbringings and things like that. And we really hit it off. And from there, again, we just kept in touch. And by December 2012, he decided to bring me in as part of the creative team, bring me in as a writer. And I signed my first contract and haven't looked back since.
Very cool. If only I had your business acumen when I was 23 years old. So, let me pass along to somebody who does have their act together a little bit more than I did at that age. Dale, what you got next for Steven?
So what shifted you kind of from the creative end of everything, where you were writing and kind of generating these stories, as we're going to obviously now being a guy that the job of the ring announcer?
It was that's an interesting story. Again, I joined in December of 2012. We had our first two shows, January 2013 and March of 2013. So pretty quick turnaround, back-to-back shows. They tried out some announcers live at those shows, and unfortunately, David McLean, who also does the announcing for the shows, just felt that there just wasn't that chemistry there. There wasn't that spark. As you guys know from watching from watching the shows, as I know from watching the shows, the announcers have to have some chemistry, like we talked about in the previous episode with Bobby and Gorilla, Bobby and Mean Gene. They've got to have that glue, something that holds them together. And I threw out ideas for other announcers that I liked in the past, and I tried to come up with ideas for who I thought would be a good announcer, and then. But nothing generated, nothing quite cemented and had that feel. So finally, I just said, hey, let me try. At the very worst, we record a few episodes, and we don't have, they never have to see the light of day. If I stink at it. So they flew me back out to LA. We sat down in a studio with the director of WOW. And David and I sat next to each other in a studio with two mics with pop filters. We played back the matches from January and March, and from there, he and I mean, we hit it off really well. Just the same way we hit it off personally, we hit it off on the microphone, and I think it shows too. When you can go to WOWE.com, shameless plug. WOWE.com. You can watch season 2, 3, and 4 with David and I on commentary, and you can kind of see. I think it comes through that we have that chemistry and we have a strong bond there on the mic and calling the matches. And he and I, again, he's not only my boss, but he's probably one of the best people I've ever known in my life, and very lucky to know a guy like that and be around him and learn from him and gain all this knowledge from him. So I think that's part of the chemistry too, is I'm a sponge, and I try to soak up as much as I can from what he has to offer as far as his years in the business. So, but that was really it. I threw my name in the hat. I said, let me give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? We tried it, and thankfully we threw some stuff against the wall and it happened to stick. Right
on, man. Yeah. So now, have you ever had the opportunity to actually announce for another professional wrestling company, or has WOW been pretty much your home base?
WOW's my home.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, WOW is home for me. Again, being 23 in the wrestling business, David McLean, with all the people he's worked with throughout the years, with all the people he's known, he could have taken a chance on anybody, but he took a chance on me, and that meant a lot to me. So for me, again, WOW is my home, and that's where I'm always going to have my loyalty. I look at other promotions, and I think there'd be cool matches to call. I think there's great athletes out there. I'd love the experience to work with. But no, as far as the way WOW is run as a business, to me, it's second to none. I think it's a great outfit. It's run by great people. I work with great people, and I can honestly say, I know everybody says this about where they work, but with WOW, it's we started out as I started out as an employee and a coworker with a lot of these people. we grew to be friends. But after 5 years, I can honestly say we're a family at WoW, and it's a great environment.
Good stuff, man. Dale, what you have next for Steven?
So many of the viewers may not have had the chance to check out WoW. So just tell us a little bit about the company and some of the notable stars, I believe, that have come across the roster there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. WoW started originally in the late 90s, early 2000s. David started the company with WoW co-founder, co-owner, and Lakers owner Jeannie Buss. So a lot of people in the sports world will know her because of her history with the Lakers and her family's history with the Lakers. But she is actually one of the owners of WoW, along with David. And those two are instrumental in running the day-to-day business of WoW. And without those two, the ship would sink. But they started the company, and then they originally aired the show in syndication in 2000. And then from there, they got a pay-per-view in March of 2001 called Unleashed. And unfortunately from there, due to various circumstances, marketing and advertising to be one of them, they went on a hiatus, and then thankfully came back in, like I said, the year 2012, 2013. So it took a bit of a long hiatus there to recover from certain things that happened with marketing and advertising. And, again, but David and Jeannie steering the ship brought it back like that, like they hadn't even missed a beat. And that's when, thankfully, I was obviously a lot older and able to join the fold myself and get involved. But some of the notable stars that have crossed through WoW, first off, our world champion is a very familiar face to people right now, Santana Garrett, just coming off of the Mae Young Classic. Great performance by her. We're very happy to see her representing WoW in a positive light. Actually, while we're on the topic of the Mae Young Classic, you'll also notice another name has passed through WoW. Candice LeRae passed through WoW and, in fact, wrestled a tag team match with us. Right. One of my favorite matches to call was Santana Garrett and Amber O'Neal against Candice LeRae and Abilene Maverick. Which brings me to another notable star, Abilene Maverick, who wrestles on the independent circuit as Barbie Hayden. So another notable name. She actually did some dark matches for the Mae Young Classic. So again, we got some solid representation at the NYC by WoW. Another notable name that Amber O'Neal, very popular on the independent circuit. Candice LeRae, as I said, is a very notable name too. But one of the most notable names, I think, is we call her the Temptress, but you may know her better as Katie Lee Burchill.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, formerly of WWE Raw brand and ECW brand. She was Katie Lee Burchill, and then came to us last year, and now she has been dubbed the Temptress. And one of the best athletes I've ever seen in the ring. We're happy to have her. But those would probably be the biggest names that you would see throughout the WoW roster. But again, there's a lot of names that you may not know yet that I think will become very, very good household names here in the near future.
Definitely. So now, we're working with David McLean, who has both, been the founder of both Glow and WoW. I guess what I would like to know is, what exactly would you say is the main difference between those two companies? I actually am old enough to where I got to see, some of Glow as a kid. I would sneak behind my parents' back and watch it because I knew some of the women were scantily clad and whatnot. So I wasn't supposed to be watching, but I did. So Mom, if you're watching this, hey, now you know. But I guess what would you say would be the main difference between those two companies to explain it to our viewers?
No, great question. And I think it comes up a lot, especially with the fact that Glow is now a very popular series on Netflix that I think people will be familiar with. But the original Glow was it was high on the entertainment value, which I believe WoW is as well. So very two entertaining products I think that both companies put out. But Glow was Glow focused more on I think on the humor and the comedy side of things. It was like watching a wrestling sitcom which everybody enjoyed. You know, I've gone back and watched a lot of it myself, and I think it's so fun. It's so enjoyable. Also highly experimental when you think about the fact that it was one of the first all women's promotions to receive national attention. And of course, they were again highly experimental in the fact that you had the crown. You didn't have the belt. You had the crown. So it was again, you know, I use the phrase, you know, throw it against the wall and see what sticks. Yes. And I think that was a big part of Glow. Is it was just they were trying something new. With WoW, it's getting back to the roots of professional wrestling. It's getting back to what made people fall in love with wrestling. It's the fact that you still have these strong, vibrant characters that will stand out in your mind and you'll remember for many, many years. But at the same time, it's getting back to the competition side. Right. It's what we're seeing a lot in all of women's sports. Is it's getting down to who is better, who is the best. It's about that championship belt. It's about who's better than somebody else in the ring. And you know, to me, coming from the creative team to the announcing side of things, to me, it's all about how does it relate back to the ring, and that's what WoW is. WoW brings it back to the ring, whereas Glow is more focused on what happened outside of the ring. There's some really entertaining things that you're going to see happen outside of the ring for WoW. We've got some explosive personalities that meet head on, you know, and it's something very unique. It's something I can honestly say I've never seen anything like a lot of these women before. But at the same time, these are phenomenal athletes that can bring it in the ring night in and night out. And they're battle-tested warriors. That's for certain.
Yes, definitely. Dale, what you have next for Steven?
So obviously, being a part of WoW, you've had two jobs. There's like obviously the creative side and the commentary side now. So if you could choose one of the two, like what's the dream gig for, like as a writer or as a commentator?
You know, that's a fantastic question too, because I get that a lot. Like you said, having worked on both sides of things, you know, like I said, I was in school for writing. You know, my dream was always to be a writer, and even outside of wrestling, you know, I hope to achieve success as a writer. I'll never leave the wrestling business, but I always hope to always be writing. I think that's one thing I can do. You know, until they put me in the grave, you know, is I can always be writing. I don't think that'll ever stop. But commentary, I've always had. It was almost like a passion that was underneath the surface for me, because I remember watching as a kid, and I was always transfixed by Jim Ross, and you know, if I had to pick one person in the business who inspired me more than anybody else to be an announcer, it was JR. You know, whenever I'm ringside or whenever I'm in the studio, you know, what have you, recording voiceover or doing the live show, his voice is always in the back of my head. You know, WWJRD. what would Jim Ross do? He is the quintessential wrestling announcer for me. And I remember being a kid, and I think a lot of kids can relate to this, but I was a kid when the SmackDown video games came out. And I would listen to JR's commentary, but there'd also be those nights where I'd be up late, you know, I'd turn the sound down and I'd call the matches. And it's nice. Like I said, I think as kids, we all kind of have that. We all do it. We all have fun with it. We all mess around with it. So to grow up and to get that opportunity to sit at that desk, to sit in that chair, to have these athletes perform in front of you, and you get to interpret what they're doing, interpret their art in a way so that people watching this around the world can enjoy it on a new level and on a different level, and that you can help you know, tell the story with these athletes. To me, it's an unparalleled experience. So it's tough for me. I've always dreamed of being a writer. But when sitting down at that desk and feeling the energy of the crowd around you, and being able to sit there like my idols, like Jim Ross, like Bobby the Brain Heenan, like Mean Gene Okerlund, like Gordon Soley, to be able to sit down, like Lance Russell, you know, to sit down in the chair and do what these guys have done. You know, I think ultimately being the announcer has been a far more beneficial experience to me, and has taught me so much more in the business than I ever would have hoped to have learned.
Yes. I used to book matches, man, with my action figures back in the day. So I'm like looking at what you're saying now. I'm just like, all right, now I don't feel so weird anymore. You know what I mean? So hey, here's what I have for you on the topic of like fantasy and whatnot.
Yes.
If you ever had the opportunity to wrestle a professional wrestling match, what would be your entrance music? What would be your persona? And what would you use as your finisher?
Oh, that is a fantastic question. And I know I say that a lot, but no, you guys are throwing a lot of good stuff at me, and this I love playing fantasy booker and fantasy wrestler, so this is great. No, my entrance music, it would change daily, to be honest with you. You ask me tomorrow, I'm not going to have the same answer. But the song that's in my head right now, and I think you and I talked about it, Todd. I'm a huge Donald Glover fan, a huge Childish Gambino fan. Yes. My favorite song is Bonfire, so I'd probably pick Bonfire. It may not suit me coming out there and just, because I don't know that I feel like I have a pretty fun personality, but I don't know as far as my my gimmick, my act, my character. That's tough. I may have to get back to you on that one. I'm probably just if I had to pick, I'd probably be just. I've always liked Bryan Danielson, so I'd probably just be a straightforward Bryan Danielson kind of guy, meat and potatoes kind of dude. Okay. But no, and then my finisher would be again, growing up in the Attitude Era, my favorite guy was The Rock, so I would probably use the Uranagi, the rock bottom.
Okay,
would be my finisher. I probably wouldn't be able to perform it to too many guys. I'm 5'5", 5'6" on a good day. I would try. I'd give it my all.
Would it go something like your catch line would be something like "Be a Steven, don't be a Dickey" or something like that?
Exactly. Yeah. Be a star.
Dale, what's your next for Steven?
Obviously, again, going back to the writing aspect, you've written a number of screenplays, and I kind of actually have a perfect, you just mentioned it, he being one of your top favorite stars. Is like you probably would make good as like if you could come up with a screenplay that was an action movie to have your lead character be The Rock. So,
oh my gosh. If I'd say dream scenario, if I could throw a screenplay at, one of the big studios, Fox, Warner Brothers, something like that, and have The Rock, have Dwayne in a movie, speaking words that I've written, I think it would just be goosebumps, and you'd probably have to resuscitate me after that one. I don't know that I could. I think I would just I could die happy at that point. Absolutely, yeah. If I could ever write a screenplay and have The Rock read my words, oh gosh, no, I would probably bowl over at that point.
What's your favorite genre of films?
Oh, films. I'm a huge horror movie fan. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh man, horror films. Both me and Dale, both. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it yet. I've seen the original, obviously, but I have not seen the new one. No, I love Pennywise, and Tim Curry's performance as Pennywise will forever go down as one of the best horror performances in history. I think Bill Skarsgård is going to do great, but I have not seen it yet, but it looks tremendous.
Stay tuned. There's a new Halloween coming out next year.
Yeah, I saw the news on Facebook with the picture with Jamie Lee Curtis in her original clothes from the first movie. Oh gosh, 2018 is going to be a crazy year.
All people, it's being directed by my man McBride from Eastbound and Down.
Yeah, interesting choice. Interesting choice.
Yeah.
I love Danny McBride.
I can't remember his first name. Yeah.
He's I love him in Tropic Thunder and Due Date and all those movies. So I can't wait to see
what he new Alien too.
What was that?
He's in the new Alien Covenant too.
Yeah.
Gosh, I gotta see. That's another one. I got kids now, so I can't watch movies the way I used to. So I gotta catch up on that. I gotta see Covenant too. That's awesome.
Cool, man. So from what I read, you've had your own podcast and your own web series as well. So me and Dale are listening. What would be your advice for anyone who's trying to actually, be successful at being a podcaster? We're all ears. Listen.
Oh, you know what? I don't know that I feel like the amateur podcaster is you guys been doing this a lot longer, and and your guys' show is fantastic, and I love it.
Well,
I love every second of it. No, I mean, if there's anybody out there though who's looking to do a podcast, the only advice I can give them is, it's a lot of people think to do it right you have to spend a lot of money, but you don't. It's like with anything. I always go back to, again, my one of my first passions and first loves is film. So when you guys ask me about film, it's right up my alley. But I always go back to my film example of Kevin Smith. And
Okay.
Kevin Smith made his first movie, Clerks, on he just got approved for a bunch of credit cards. He maxed out the credit cards. He rented locations. He bought equipment and all these cool things. But he did it on his own dime. He did it very cheap. But Clerks will always stand to me as one of the best comedies that I've ever seen in my life. So I think again, if anybody's looking to start a podcast, buy yourself just get a mic that's going to be clear. A $50 blue Snowball ice mic is all you need. There you go. Same. That's what I'm rocking too. But a blue Snowball mic doesn't cost. It's less than $100.
Yep.
You can go on free websites, Podomatic. You can register with iTunes. You can Audacity is a free program. You can download for free. There's just so many resources now. If anybody's looking to do a podcast, I don't want to say it's easy, because you do want to format it correctly. You want to make sure you leave your audience engaged. And unfortunately, those are things that just can't be taught. And that's one thing that you guys do great, is you're always engaging, and you guys have just a ton of content, a plethora of ideas to throw out there at your listeners and viewers. But again, the basics though, the stuff that you need, it's very easy to do. You just got to have that passion and that drive to do it. From there, everything else falls into place.
Mm-hmm. The hardest part about this for us was actually, getting together and sitting down and actually doing it. Yeah. Actually, just like saying, okay, this is something we've been talking about doing. This is something we've been planning. Now we're going to actually make it happen. Once you get past that, it's not.
Once you start doing it, it's very easy, and it becomes part of your weekly routine, your day-to-day routine, however often you do it. But again, it's one of those things that you find equipment that works. You don't have to have the best equipment. You can just you can do it for not a lot out of your pocket, and it'll sound great. It'll look great, and again, you're reaching millions of people worldwide who have the same interest as you. And that's the beauty of this day and age, is we live in a time where with the internet, that so many people can connect to one another that there's no reason not to do it. You're always going to appeal to some audience. That's the best part of it all.
Exactly. So Dale, go ahead and help us wrap this on up, man.
All right, Stephen, we thank you for the time here. And at this moment, we're going to now turn the floor over to you to kind of just let us know what is next for you and WOW.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. First off, I want to say thank you for having me. This has been a ton of fun. Getting to talk with you guys. I love talking wrestling. Obviously it's a huge passion of mine. But as far as what's next for WOW, the big thing is keep checking WOWE.com. Tons of updates are coming. The website's going to have a new, fresh look here very soon. WOW has signed a deal with MGM Television to distribute the show.
Oh, cool.
So right now, WOW and MGM officials are meeting with networks so hopefully we can bring WOW to a lot more people throughout the world. The big thing that's coming up for WOW, though, that we can put a date and a timestamp on: Thanksgiving weekend, WrestleCade weekend. Tracy and the folks at WrestleCade have invited WOW superheroes to be a part of WrestleCade weekend. You'll see stars like The Dagger. You'll see the fabulous Lana Starr. You'll see Amber O'Neil there. You'll see the real deal Selena Majors. WOW will have a very big presence at WrestleCade. So you can bookmark it, WrestleCade weekend down in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The WOW superheroes will be there, and there will be a very special treat for the live audience. And then, of course, we've got WOW Season 5 that will be launching very soon. Should be coming this winter. More details will be along the way at WOWE.com. And of course, check social media. WOW's very active on social media. You can check WOW out on Twitter at WOW Superheroes, WOWSuperHeroes, WOW Superheroes. Same thing, Instagram, WOW Superheroes. Facebook, Google, search WOW Superheroes. As for me, you can find my personal information, Twitter at The Voice of WOW, Facebook.com/The Voice of WOW. I update it constantly and try to keep everybody in the loop with what's going on with WOW, with what's going on. But yeah, it's a fantastic time. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. WrestleCade is going to be a huge weekend for us, and there's so much in the pipeline with WOW, with partnering with MGM. Hopefully we can reach the masses in a completely new way.
Right on, man. Definitely some exciting stuff coming up for you guys. So yes, it has definitely been a pleasure having you joining us here. So one thing is for sure, myself, Dale, and Steven, we could sit here and talk about wrestling all night long, but unfortunately, we have come to the end of this episode of No Gimmicks Podcast. So thank you, everyone, for joining us for our interview with the voice of Women of Wrestling, Stephen Dickey. We are No Gimmicks, no image, all wrestling, all the time.